what I would like to do is just kind of give you a quick overview of some of the digital resources that are available to you that we're going to be looking at today, and a little bit of history and the reasons why the content has developed. So certainly this was in response to some needs that were expressed over time from particularly elementary educators that were needing some digital resources to help support their teaching practice. And as a result, D2L has once again stepped up to support educators with their teaching practice and helping them to be able to reach their students far and wide. When we've done this, our publishing team that is made up of Ontario educators has built an engaging collection or library of content that is now available to the province of Ontario and beyond. So again, the content has been developed and written by Ontario educators. As a former educator myself, I find such confidence and connection to the content, knowing that it comes from my peers, that it's coming from their understanding of curriculum documents and the needs and the wants of their fellow educators. Additionally, the content that has been created has been Trillium listed. It is aligned with Ontario expectations, and it is customizable and interactive for our students to be able to participate and use it in a very fun and dynamic, engaging environment. The resources themselves include assessments, which have built-in formative and summative assessments. They are aligned, again, with Ontario expectations already for you. So that means you do not have to do that additional work of searching out those expectations to figure out where the content fits within your teaching practice. We have done it for you. And you can rest assured and feel confident that it's been done by Ontario educators who have that understanding as well. Additionally, those assessments are aligned with grade items. So as they are completed, they are filtered directly into your assessment gradebook for you to be able to review at the time of report cards, which we all know people are going through right now. So think about how wonderful that would be, all in one place, all at the same time for you, expectations and grade items. The content is created for you, but that doesn't limit you. You are not limited to the content that is created by D2L. This is meant to supplement your teaching practice. So you are also able to create your own assessments, activities, and bring in your own content that you already have existing. So the content that you've previously created and perhaps have been building for many years is not lost. This is meant to supplement and help build out a much more robust, interactive opportunity for you and your students. One of the things that we often hear is that educators are looking for resources and support to help with them to develop and create ideas and generate new opportunities for learning for their students. What we have done in our preparation of these resources is created built-in teacher resources and support options for you, including a digital, but also a PD download of a teacher's manual. So for those of you like me who like to have a paper manual sometimes where you can make your notes and keep record, you have that option. Again, you're not limited. We're hoping to provide you with as many opportunities to be able to expand your teaching practice and not limit it. There's also a variety of tools that are available to you from D2L, such as our guided training program and Brightspace tutorials that are available to you for free as part of being a D2L, part of the D2L family, we'll say. And additionally, we do offer customized PD that can help support our educators as they move forward in their practice and exploration of using the content. Now, one of the best pieces, I think personally, when we look at the content, is that it is fully integrated into Brightspace, which means when you're using the content already lives inside your virtual space, your virtual classroom, whatever term you're using to title your virtual space that you utilize with your students, but it's already there for you. There's nothing you have to do to bring in different pieces of it. It's there for you to work with and to customize and use as you need to. Again, customizable, word we all love, because not everything is what we want to be driving to our students. We maybe want to pick and choose certain activities, certain lessons, certain areas of focus to deliver to them. And that is something that you can completely do with inside Brightspace. It gives you that opportunity. And then finally, for those of you who are Brightspace users, you have tools that you know and you love that already exist inside the platform, and you're able to utilize those to really maximize the content and the resources to support your education practice. And you also have analytics to be able to look at those the student progress and your own progress as an educator. What have you covered? What expectations do you need to revisit? Is there opportunities for further learning and advancement? This is a great tool for you to be able to keep track of what you're doing and how you're doing it, as well as keeping track of your students and what they're doing and how they're doing. Ontario's resource catalog includes a vast variety across all subjects in elementary. We are supporting math, grades 1 through 8, language, grades 1 through 8, science and technology, grades 1 through 8, and social studies, grade 1 through 8. Additionally, in grades 4 and 5, that's what I used to teach myself. That's a little slip up there. Grades 4 through 8, we have physical education and health, as well as French. And very exciting for many educators in Ontario is that we now have de-streamed Ontario math to help support those transitions moving forward. And again, our curriculum is Trillium listed or currently waiting for that approval as the ministry moves forward. As the Trillium list moves forward. Let's see. Another piece that we really love to highlight here is that inside our content that we have in our catalog, we have focused on diversity and inclusion through various cultures and countries, really try to help our students see themselves inside the content. D2L, one of our passions is that we want to reach every learner. And this is an opportunity for us to bring them in and allow them to see themselves inside various pieces of content. Included in the resources are numerous things. So again, this is just highlighting some of the content or some of the information that I've already mentioned, but you can see that curriculum aligned course content, those teachers manuals, which are powerful for understanding the expectations and learning objectives and helping you as an educator save time in that lesson planning. Your quizzes, tests, and assessments are there. We have accessibility features, which is a huge focus for D2L because we do want to reach all of those learners and not limit anybody for their participation in your class. Assignments are there and opportunities for activities, as well as built-in assessments for, as, and of learning. And again, because this was developed with Ontario educators in mind, we are focusing on those curriculum points and those documents that really enforce you exceeding and excelling in your practice. Grade items are associated and learning goal checklists are there. Again, helping you to stay on track, helping you to move forward and really develop as an educator. Now with that, I would like to see it in action, which means it's demo time. And I'm going to turn it over to my partner in crime, Laura, to take it away for a demo.
And again, thank you for coming today. I'm so excited to be talking to you today about our D2L digital resources to explore how they can help you engage in purposeful learning for students using the Brightspace tools that you already know and love. I myself am a former teacher myself, and I know how hard it can be to get through each day, especially right now. Our resources are meant to support your teaching practice as well as save you time by having all of your curriculum aligned resources and assessments in one place. So let's dive in. So many of you who use Brightspace already may look at this and this is something that's familiar. But for anyone here who maybe isn't as familiar, this looks like a Brightspace instance. You'll see here that I have a grade 4 class and I have many tools up here that some of you may be using every day. One tool that you may not use as much is the content tab, but that's actually where we're going to begin because this is where our D2L resources live. So you'll see here that I have a few samples. Typically, you might only have one subject area in a Brightspace instance, but for today, we have all of these just in case questions come up. We are going to focus in on math today, but you are going to have an opportunity at the end of our webinar today to request a free trial. So if you're interested in digging into other subject areas and different grades, you'll be able to do that for 30 days for free. Before we jump into the content, I wanted to point out this fancy little wheel here, and this is our expectations wheel. This is showing me that we are covering 100% of the Ontario curriculum for math. This is really nice for peace of mind, and especially for math because we do have a new curriculum. This is a really nice way to be able to identify what I'm teaching to. So for example, if I go into a lesson and I'm curious to see where within the curriculum this particular piece of content hits, I can use these 3 little dots up here and I can click View Expectations. This is going to immediately show me what I'm teaching to and is a really nice way to cross-reference what I'm teaching and to make sure that I'm covering everything I'm hoping I can. Now, going back up here for a second, you'll notice this nice bucket called our teacher resources. So again, really a lot of the background of why we put this together was hearing educators say, I want everything in one place. I don't want to be jumping to online learning sites or, getting my password reset over and over. I just want everything to be in one place and be seamless. And that is exactly why we've put all of the teacher resources into one place here. So I'm going to walk through a few of them with you to give you an example of what supports are here. So we'll start with a course outline for Math Grade 4. This is a really nice place for a teacher to start because it gives you an idea of how many units there are, the different types of assessments and how many are within the different units and lessons. There's a link to the Ontario curriculum right here. And then it details the overall curriculum expectations for grade 4 math. So this is a really nice place that teachers can take a look and start to get an idea of how we cover the content. There's also an FAQ, which is really meant to be a best practice for teachers to get an idea of some of the things to keep in mind as they're teaching to our resources. There's also something called math-specific resources, and this will vary depending on the subject, of course, but this is a place for teachers to go to get to know the different types of pedagogical features and call-out boxes that their students will experience as they're going through different units and lessons. So just to give you a few examples when it comes to math, you'll see that there are math journal prompts that are often brought up through different lessons. So this is a chance for students to do something in their math journal and put some pencil to paper. Very similarly, there are unplugs. And these are, again, a chance to leave the Brightspace environment and do some work. So if that's maybe showing some of what you've learned in a lesson or going through some different math exercises, it is meant to be done outside of the Brightspace environment. There are also math talks, and math talks are actually meant to really promote discussion. So this is something we hear from teachers they'll often have up on a projector, and they'll use to start a class to elicit some thinking, reflection, and to prompt some conversation. So whether you're in a whole class, small group, or even over a Zoom call, it's really meant to get some conversation going about the concept at hand. You'll also see reflect and writes throughout our lessons, and these are meant to often be in a math journal and meant to reflect on some of the learning that's happening. And finally, often you'll see extend your learning. And this is just an opportunity for students to do something outside of the grade level and extend into the next grade. And I know, Heather, you mentioned this before. Here it is, the teacher guide. So this is, something that as a former teacher, this is my big binder next to my next to my planning, and or what would have used to have been on a third-party site where you might have to go in and use a different username and password. But this is something that is embedded right within our resource and can be downloaded, saved, or print it out if you like to have it kind of next to you, and into Heather's point, to be able to kind of write down notes and kind of use it, with a highlighter or something like that. So for example, here you'll see that this is a unit outline for representing numbers. So it starts by going through the overall expectations and then shows teachers every single lesson that is available to teach to this unit. And then you'll see next to it that we have the specific expectations covered. It will also go through some common misconceptions that students might be coming into this particular subject with, and some ways to strategize around working with students to get past them. There's also some material required, the different videos that are available. And from here, it goes into lessons. So here's an example of a lesson outline for numbers up to 10,000. Again, it brings up that expectation and learning goal. It will show teachers what students should know coming in, what they're going to learn, and what they should learn by the end of this lesson. And it also provides teachers with prompting questions, ways to differentiate their instruction, ways to extend learning, and a couple other really helpful features to have teachers feel really confident teaching to this lesson. So again, this is all embedded into our content and easily accessible for teachers to help them feel confident with their teaching. So I'm going to go through one lesson right now. I'm going to go into algebra today, and I'm going to pick identifying the distributive property. The reason I'm going to pick one lesson to go through is that typically our lessons follow a bit of a similar flow. So I'll go through one, and that will give you a sense of what often, this is how they are followed. So we're going into our first little bit of a lesson here, and you'll notice this is kind of like a bucket under our algebra unit here. And typically we start a lesson with a bit of a hook. So this is something that teachers often tell us they might have up on their projector. There'll often be some prompting questions here, or some way to make this relevant. So maybe an example is brought in. And then there's always the "what will I learn" statement here. So following our hook, we go into something that's called a skill drill. So the skill drill is really meant to access prior knowledge. In an ideal world, this is a great place to have students one-on-one with a device or even small groups because these are typically interactive. So in this particular case, students have to identify products of a whole number multiplied by 1,000, and they can click on them to find out if they get it right or wrong. Oh, I got that one wrong. From the skill drill, we go into the warm-up, and this is really meant to get the juices flowing for the concept that will be taught. So again, warm-ups can be used with students in the Brightspace environment. However, we have heard teachers say that some of the warm-ups they do put up on their projector and just have students working through some of these questions in their math journal or notebook. However, in the case that they are in front of a device, they can actually answer the question here and get some immediate feedback and try again. And you'll see here that they can click through to have other questions put through. So from the warm-up, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention that there's also helpful hints at the bottom. So this often brings up some review and some really helpful information to get students ready for what they're about to learn. And from there, we go into the concept itself. So this is, again, an opportunity for teachers to use this to help with the teaching in a classroom or a blended virtual environment, something that they can use to really facilitate discussion in class and teach to this topic. In this particular case, we start with using addition, and you'll see some dialogue between some characters. This is something that we've received really good feedback, especially from students in these younger grades, because it's a way to engage and kind of listen to some thoughts from a teacher and a student. So oftentimes you'll see that a student is thinking out loud and the teacher is guiding what they're thinking. And sometimes a student gets it wrong, and you can actually kind of go through that dialogue of how they figure out the problem to solve. And then you'll see here that there are many examples and interactives that are embedded within the lesson to help keep things interesting and engaging for students. I'm going to go down to a little bit more of the concept. And you'll see here some more examples of some dialogue, and in this case, some steps for students to follow to answer a question. So again, this is all embedded here, but can be definitely used up on a projector or really used in or outside of the class, wherever your students are doing their learning. In this particular case, we also have a video that's available for students to watch, and then a little bit of a quiz here. So again, being able to support formative assessment, getting some feedback in the moment. And there's some extra practice here as well. And one more little area I'll show you. This particular lesson has 3 different areas kind of going through the concept. This is going into some guided practice, bringing up some more examples for students. And again, those steps to follow either in a Brightspace environment or, in a math journal. And again, lots of different ways to interact with the examples here and do some learning in the environment. And then here's an example of an unplug. So this is a place where you would have your students get their math journal out and actually do some work through here. So after you get through the concepts, there's always some practice at the end. So something that's, a really great opportunity for students to make sure they've understood. And, this is before a big assignment or a quiz or anything like that. So a chance for them to go back and do some additional learning if they think that they need to. So from there, we go into that's a wrap, which is essentially the conclusion of this lesson. So again, just reiterating what was learned and then having our little success statement at the bottom here. Now, every single lesson has a quiz or an assignment at the end. So in this particular case, we're going to go to show how much you've grown. And it's telling me that we're going to have an assignment coming up here. So before students start an assessment or an assignment, they have a little checklist that they can go through to make sure that they're ready for this. In this case, the next little bubble here actually has a rubric that a student can read through to kind of understand what their teacher is going to be assessing. So just another way to kind of prep them to get ready for this. And then they would go into the assignment itself and would be able to submit. At the end of every unit, so we're at the top here, and if we go to the bottom of our algebra unit, there is a test and an assessment. So lots of opportunities for teachers to be able to track and monitor progress in learning as they go through the different lessons and units. And speaking of that, because we're in the Brightspace environment, teachers are then able to use some of the tools that they may already know and love to help monitor and track learning. So I'm going to show you a few of those right now. And we'll start with class progress. So class progress is a tool that we know is being used in a really strong way right now because of the fact that teachers aren't always, in the classroom with their students. So this is a snapshot of a teacher's class to see how much content students have gone through, checking in on their logins, how they're doing for grades, and where they are in their checklist. So this is a really nice way for me, as a teacher, to flag some students who maybe haven't gone too far into their completion. And maybe this is a chance for me to flag some of those students and have a conversation with them to help get them back on track. Another tool that is really helpful for that environment of students in and outside of the classroom is our grades. So on the first page here, you'll see a grade book, which is, just what you'd think it would be in terms of submissions and those marks, being able to export it outside of here. But we have another tool, which is called Mastery View of Gradebook. And this is something that's a little newer. So not all of you may have heard of this before, but it's a really nice way to measure student completion and success against those curriculum expectations. So there's a few different ways a teacher could use this. For example, I see the curriculum expectations at the top here. And I see that for this particular one, there's a lot of students that are at a 1 or a 2. So even though I think that I've taught to this, maybe this is an area that I might want to revisit and go back and do a little bit of remediation. And then going left to right, again, this is a really nice way for me to see how students are performing against those expectations. So in this student's case, I see that maybe I need to, go back and talk to the student, maybe provide out some content, from a prior grade level to support some differentiation and help him get back to, the 3s and 4s that we'd like to see here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the content tab because we were talking a little bit, or Heather was talking a little bit at the beginning about taking, what we've put here and really adding your own personal touch. So we hear from teachers that this is great. You have everything here, 100% expectation alignment. That's great. My toolbox is full. But I like to put my own spin on how I'm teaching. My students this year are unique or different than prior years, and I want to tweak and I really make this something that reflects me as a teacher. So I'm going to show you a few ways that you can do that. So there's really simple things that you can do, such as clicking on our hide tab here. So you'll see here that I may be focused on coding for the next few weeks. So I've decided to hide everything else so that when a student comes in, they only see the unit on coding and they can focus right in on that. I can even take that a step further by going into a little, maybe just this particular content piece here. And I can go to the 3 dots again. Oh, actually, I'm going to go to this one here. Oh, hang on 2 seconds. I'm looking for a button that's not here. There it is. And I'm going to post to my course homepage. So by clicking this, I can give my students some instruction. I can say, hey guys, make sure you read this before Friday's lesson. I've got that content right here and I can click post. By doing that, when a student logs in and they go to their activity page, they're going to see that right away. So if I really want students to focus on something before they even get to the content tab, I can do that. So here's my post right here. So that's a really nice way to have students come in and see exactly what they need to do, either before, during, or after class. A few other ways that you can customize our resources. You'll see here that there's an Add Existing button. So by clicking this, I can bring in anything that I've put together as a teacher. I might have like a really great PowerPoint I want to bring in, or a document that I'd like the students to read through. I can drag and drop it here and then bring it over into any place that I think makes sense for the students to see that. Similarly, I can click on Create New and create something from scratch. So maybe I want to have students go to a website and watch a video or something like that. I can do that right from here, and same thing, I can then drag and drop it over here. There are a few other ways that I'm not going to go too far into today, but you can reorganize any of them. So you can reorder, you can change the names of anything here, and you can actually change any of the text outside of the videos and interactives. So really, there are a lot of different ways that you can take what we've put together here and personalize it to meet your and your students' needs. The last thing I want to show you today is our portfolio tool, which again, some of you may already use. But the reason I wanted to show it today is because it ties in really well with our resources. And it's another way to be able to connect with your students, whether they're in or outside of the classroom. So our portfolio tool is something that is student driven and is meant to be a repository of learning. So I'm just going to click on one student. Now, these are just portfolio pictures, but really when you look at the resources, there are a lot of different areas where you're having students do some work. So maybe there's an unplug and you've asked students to work through 4 or 5 multiplication questions. You could prompt them to take a picture of that using our app and submit it so that it ends up in their portfolio. So this is a really nice way for students to capture their learning, reflect on some of their learning, and for teachers to be able to connect with their students. So if I click on this handsome little frog here, I'll see that Dakota has submitted a photograph for me. Depending on what I'm looking from Dakota, I could have asked her to upload an audio file. So if I want to hear Dakota, express and explain this to me, we could have put that here. In this case, I've actually asked her to write in a little reflection. So something I can do now is I can actually type back and say, hey, I really like this picture. Tell me more about, X, Y, Z, and have a little bit of dialogue about this picture. But you'll also see here below that there are expectations that I've brought in. So I can use the portfolio to use it as an assessment tool and line it up against expectations. I can add in extra expectations here, and I can also bring in a rubric. So this is a really nice complementary tool that you can use with the digital resources to capture learning when your students may not be in the classroom.
I wanted to just reconfirm all the exciting, wonderful things that these resources can do to support you as an educator and your students as well. Some of the big things, and I know every single one of you is always looking for ways to save time. Every educator is. This is a wonderful way to have that happen for you. It's already there for you. That material and content is there for you to go through, filter through with a fine-tooth comb, and deliver everything that's appropriate to for your teaching practice to your students. It gives you that flexibility and that customizable opportunity to really have control over what you're delivering to your students and when, where, and how, which is so powerful as an educator. You're confident to know that the curriculum is completely covered. It's been written by educators from Ontario who understand the curriculum and have been able to filter through it and really build out this robust curriculum to cover all aspects of it and include those expectations and that alignment for you. Again, saving you time, making life a whole lot easier. We work really hard, and we focus really, our focus is really driven towards inclusivity of our students and accessibility. And that is a very big point for D2L and something that we focus on in all aspects of our platform development, as well as now in developing these resources. We want to make sure that we are helping you meet the needs of your learners where they are and with the tools that they need to be able to be their best in any form. So whether it's in a classroom, it's a blended environment, a hybrid environment, or a remote learning environment, we are doing our best to really make sure that our accessibility far exceeds the basics of expectation. So we want to make sure that everyone is reached. Additionally, we have those assessments and those evaluation pieces that are there. They're set to help you keep those learners on track. And they're also there with that flexibility for you to be able to adapt them to your current teaching style, giving you the control over what and how your learning resources can be made available to your students. So you still have the power to deliver the scope that you want to for your students. Incredibly powerful.